when there is no enemy within, an enemy from without can cause no harm. It's also true one enemy which is within our country. Ourselves are to blame. You can never shift the blame on somebody else. You have to take the responsibility and the blame for all the problems. Even which is next door. But as a father, you have to take that responsibility. Zimbabwe has to learn to take that responsibility. But it's not a man very willing to take our country forward. Not one. Currently, we have politicians who are just there to feed themselves, to feed their egos. Until we get people who are willing to take the country forward. Individualism, then our country is going to move. But for the meantime, we can only do our small things to contribute to our country. But for now, personally, I believe a generation of new people. Let's work together, regardless of our political differences, and put our country back to its true self, to its former self. Otherwise, politics is at the root currently of everything that is happening in Zimbabwe. Because politics is those who it's bad governance. Politics is those who appoint munu kuti iwo upinda apa asina qualification asina chido chebasa iroro raari kuita, but because he's politically connected, he gets that position. Saka azvishande. We have a lot of talent in Zimbabwe. Look at brain drain. People who are going to the UK, to the US, to South Africa, to China. Those people are contributing in those economies, but they cannot contribute in their economy because there is some problem within our own economy. So we need to sort that out. Until then, let's just push and push and push and wait for time, because time, it will heal everything. All these things shall pass, and we are willing. And we cannot keep on blaming others. It's Britain, it's upon us, and we have that responsibility to do so. Thank you for taking so much of your time, but I have to lament this so that people understand my point of view. This is my point of view. But thank you for the time.
Thanks a lot, gentlemen, for giving me this chance. I like a lot of the points the guys are putting across. My own submission is this. I particularly do not have questions, but my own submission is this. I think this question is asking us to say, can Zimbabwe move past the economic sanctions in place in its journey to achieve economic competency? I think we are long past the stage yet no chairman sanctions. I think we are long past that stage. What we are lacking in Zimbabwe is what I can call willpower, or the drive to actually achieve or do something. The thing is that sanctions are now being used as a convenient scapegoat, because they know that they cannot get things right. They know they have so much bad within them, and they try to look for the next convenient thing to point at. Is the sanctions, but it's not. I will give you a few examples. If anything is, if we remember going back into history, from time Governor Gideon Gono, we understand initially Kutima sanctions are because we took the land and some of the companies and stuff. And after Isusu Vachuvakapiwa Mund, turned up my farms and we looted everything, Gideon Gono came and refunded those farmers. They gave them inputs, tractors, those guys knew what they were doing. But the problem we have as Africans or Zimbabweans is that we are not deliberate in what we do. We don't even know what you want to do and what you want to achieve. We rush everything up, just like the way we took the farms back. We were rushing everything. The thing is that those people went to the farms, but they did not know how to do the farming. And we made a mistake. And we're still making the same mistake up until now. I understand Gudi. I think a year ago, Tagan's Tagaita bumper harvest. But how much more of that would we have gotten? Ivan Wakayenda Ugu Vekenge Vadzidis Kwagurima. It could have been more. We have suffered countless budget deficits funding this same industry. Isiru kukwanisa kufida nyika, because the guys who are ruling us do not have the willpower to do things right. I'll give you a case in point. China, a generation ago, these guys sat down and they decided they were going to do something for their country. They were going to position themselves from the periphery of the world stage and actually be something that they sat down to say, we're going to do this. Look at the Singapore story. If anyone has read that book, or if anyone has paid attention to Singapore, those guys sat down, they said, we're going to do this for our country. What have our guys done? Now the sanctions are there, and I totally understand that there are things we cannot do because of the sanctions. But how much more is corruption done to our country? And then every time we want to talk about corruption, then the guys bring this sanctions thing and say, they are the economic sanctions and all of that. There's corruption, there's nepotism. I think someone talked about it earlier. Someone on social media was pointing to this bridge in Berengo. I'll give you just an example. We do know that within our government, there are countless guys from the Midlands, but we have a bridge like that on a major road in Midlands. That's not working. But we have countless guys who are running the show, who come from an area that does not have a working bridge. Now, there comes another problem. The people back home, or us as Zimbabweans, we are afraid of the next man. What I mean by that is that we are afraid of building our communities. We are so much bent on controlling people that we do not build our communities. When this country was coming up, they just formed up like 5 places where they were going to concentrate development and start building from there. We have not done it. We have places where we have got diamonds back home. We have places where they are mining platinum. We have places they are mining granite. Go to all those places and see what shells those places are. Go to Mutogo right now. There's nothing that shows that we are taking a precious stone from that place. Nothing. Go to Mutare. There's nothing that shows that. They speak about devolution. And then what's happening on that front? There's nothing. So we lack that willpower. We lack accountability. There's no one who goes to the next man to ask Gutizoni, what are we doing with regards to this? I feel pity for that woman, the Auditor General, who year after year brings out that Auditor General's report. She reports that this ministry did that. They looted these funds. They looted this. Nothing is done about it. And it comes out on a Sunday. On a Monday, we talk about it and we forget about it. Even us as the citizens, we do not get those guys to account. What I understand is that we are the many, they are the few. If we really wanted to make them account, we do that. So also us as the citizens, we are part of the problem, because we are also just looking for the easy way out. I'm especially sorry about this generation of ours, because we're the generation that just looks at running away. Like, we are in the diaspora right now, but how much are we doing back home to fight the problems that are going to affect our kids in another generation? Not even a generation, in another 15 or 20 years. We're not doing anything about that. Now, we will remember someone talked about the Monsanto Commission. They talked about taking those guys that did those atrocities to book. Nothing was done. That guy said that he said some outrageous stuff. That gun was shooting at 45 degrees. It was not going to shoot anyone. And that guy got away with it. This is the same point I'm saying, accountability. We do not hold our leaders to account. Us as citizens, we don't hold the next man to account. We just think maybe we join the gravy train and that is it. That is why we lack respect on the international forum. The Chinese, whom we said were our friends, they are coming home to loot and take everything from us. They are not doing a lot of things that are actually benefiting us, except just to take things and bring it back to their countries. They are not doing anything that's going to be sustainable for another generation, which is something that we could have done if we were willing to do it. I'll give you a case in point. Well, it's a bigger power, but I'll give you this example. Russia is now selling its gas in their own currency. These are guys that have placed themselves in a position to win no matter what has been thrown at them. We have things like that back home. We have minerals that are so important to the world's economy, but we're just throwing them for nickels, for nothing. We had the world's largest open diamond minefield. But who can tell me right now one thing that we got from that? So we have the stuff, we have everything, but we have not put ourselves in a position to succeed. And that is the problem. Unless us guys or the leaders that are there sit down and decide that they are going to do things the right way, then we are not going to win. Zimbabwe does not have to do a lot. Zimbabwe just has to account to itself. I don't even care about the Americans or SADC or whoever. We have to account to ourselves to say, this is what we are going to do. And we do that. Before we want that for ourselves, we are going to have a problem. I'll tell you this, one thing that's shocking. We see all those things bad going around us and we let it pass. I'll tell you that that guy, the soldier guy who talked about the 45 degrees and all these corruption cases we found, those guys go into court and they are exonerated, they are cleared of any wrongdoing. It is another arm of the rulership that is supposed to be keeping everything in check, but they don't do that. And we talk about sanctions, we talk about everything else, but it is because we do not know what we want. That's why we talk bad about the Americans or the Westerners, and then we still run to that place. I totally know for a fact that the minister was in the US or the UK, drumming up support or investment from those guys. But those are the same guys we say we don't want to deal with. So we want money and investment from those guys. And then when they come to want to oversee the elections, we don't want that. I don't even care about them, but let's just do the right thing. I think Muna said it. He said, SADC gave us some guidelines to work with. We did not do that. We don't even have to go to SADC because we know what we want. We're the best people to answer those questions. So unless we decide to want to do better for us and for the generations to come, we are not winning this thing. We're just going around in circles. It did not start with this Dera, it did not start with the sanctions, said and said it. It started way back then. But we propagated that thing to say someone would be corrupt and get away with it. We understand, we know people who are still being corrupt right now, and they are getting away with it. Privatized, we have massive companies, Econet, Insco, all those companies, they are massive private companies that are doing well every year. They churn out profits to their shareholders. We cannot do the same with this ZUPO, this NRZ. It's shocking that NRZ won the engineering award at ZIT a few days ago. What is NRZ doing? That's the thing I'm saying, that we are lying to ourselves. And before we cleanse ourselves of those lies, we're not going anywhere. Why is NRZ winning anything? Why is no one actually telling NRZ you're not doing anything? But I know also that NRZ bought cars for their bosses. Why are the bosses being rewarded for anything? So unless Zimbabwe decides not to live a lie and actually determine that, guys, this is what we want for this country and for the generations to come, we are not winning. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nash, for your contribution. Guys, if there's anyone with contribution or question, you can bring them on.
Can I just go for a minute? Sorry.
Okay, Slick, you're audible. You can. Slick more.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the opportunity, sir. I would like to say a few things. I've been listening to the previous with most of them. I don't want to go too technical because the 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 honorables, the special guest already, dove into that. But the thing is, like Zimbabwe fails. We don't have accountability. We don't have clarity. We don't have transparency. We are in a leadership or a governance of people, incompetent people, who believe that since they were born and raised poor, now that they're in position of power, they should hold on to it because they don't know when their luck is going to run out. So,
okay,
dealing with such people.
A minute, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
If you say these people were born in poverty and they're going to hold power, the sole people you're talking about, what are you going to get your point about the sanctions based on these people you're talking about?
Yes, I am going to get to the point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, sanctions sounds this whole sanction thing sounds like a broken record because it's since 2001 to 2022. We have changed different people, like governors in the Reserve Bank, economists, etc., etc. But it seems that since then we haven't broken the code. Hatisati the epiphany. Oh, okay, now we should move into this in this direction 20, 30 years later. Okay, sanctions to me sounds like a broken record. Why? Because we can't keep on crying about that because of the time we've had to endure, to sit down on the drawing board and to try and imitate other economies surrounding us in Africa. Saka inini nyaya yangu is easy pakuti how are we able to say sanctions are holding us back when we can put up a statue? We can put up a statue and there's no sanction talk about that. But when teachers stand in the streets marching and protesting, doctors protesting, we hear so much about the sanction. But when we need to build a statue or when we need to buy buses that we don't see working for the public, my buses, I think about 80 of them. I don't even know which route they travel. Simple things like that. We don't have the accountability. Things are just done to show face, but we lack people who put Zimbabwe first. We lack people who wake up in the morning and say, I'm going to use my authority or my presence in this office to make a difference for real, for the next generation. So what we see today is just a cause and effect. The government has been there for too long, singing their sanctions song, and people now don't see the relevance. When a person is talking about sanctions and, we see money being squandered left, right, and center. They're telling us, let's look east. Yet here we are, Zimbabweans in China. We can't even open a bank account. We can't even start a business. A few days ago, a couple of people were talking about businesses in China. Why are people not starting business in China? There's a lot of red tape. But these are the same people we are in bed with, saying these are our friends, but we can't exercise a simple thing is opening a business in China today, a legit one. We can't. So it's just a whole lot of, I don't know. But anyway, thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Chairman, can I come in? Chair.
Thank you so much, Slickmo. Before RIG can come in, Dr. Lewis, are you still here? Dr. Lewis?
Yes, I'm still here.
Did you hear what he was asking you based on what you had said? He had some questions based on what you had said.
I'm sorry I missed that question. My network was acting fun.
Okay, you were saying that how come some money is spent in the country for statues, roads, campaigns, and other things, and then at one point when need being, they just say we are under sanctions. How does this sanctions being? Because he needed clarity in saying how can a country be affording to do the roundabout at Mbudzi, but it's under sanctions? How is the country affording? So I remember in your presentation, you presented something about sanctions from point A to B, B to C, and D. Maybe he had not joined in, so maybe you can rephrase a short so he can hear what you had said, basically how these sanctions are affecting people and how they affect the government per se.
Okay. So like what I explained earlier was, yes, sanctions are affecting individuals. And I explained through supply chain, economic sanctions can lead to a suffer for the last person in the supply chain, because maybe the first person is imposed on economic sanctions. But to what he was talking about, like having government erecting statues or having government spending a lot of money buying buses, it's one of those things that I was pointing out, that what action is government doing to alleviate or to shield the citizens from economic sanctions? Is government trying to implement policies which makes life easier for its people, or is the government just doing whatever it wants to do, and they don't care about the consequences because there is already a propaganda train which is running fast about sanctions are not good, they cause this, they cause this. So the point is, yes, our government, I do believe our government is not doing enough. Yes, there is the consequence of economic sanctions on non-targeted people. There's economic sanctions on the civilians. But what is government doing? Is government doing good enough? Is government willing to alleviate the economic sanctions or the consequences? Fine, we may choose to ignore the economic sanctions, say, oh, fine, we'll just live like that. But what is government doing? Government is spending unnecessary. Government, there's a lot of corruption issues in the government. Government is doing some of the projects that you start to question yourself, why are we doing this project? So it's an important point that was mentioning. It's a very, very important point that why is government doing some of the things that even its self-government can't explain why they are doing that. I mean, like, tell you why government, I don't know whether they can explain better to us why did government choose to elect Ngani under statute. What benefit is it going to rear to the individuals or the economy of Zimbabwe? Nothing. I'm done, Mr. Chairman.
Dr. Lewis, if today you were put in Mutuli Ncube's shoes and Slick Moyes asked you, why did you put the statue? What would be your answer if you were Mutuli Ncube yourself?
There wouldn't be that such question, because I will never spend money on that, so there will never be that question.
From a citizen's point of view, do you think the Minister of Finance or the Governor of Finance has got anything to do with the statue that has been put by a party, citizens, and other staff? Do you think they had to sit down as a body and ask Reserve Bank to put the statue, or it was an individual decision made by a certain organization without seeking funds from the Reserve Bank? That's where I'm going with my question, though I was a bit tricky and I went round. You are Mr. Mutuli. I'm asking you, do you think the SO organization would come to you and say, please, can we have 10,000, 20,000? We want to put a statue, or it's money that is used, maybe that would be available in a certain organization, and they can do it without asking money from the Reserve Bank?
Can I just say, this money was provided by the government of Zimbabwe. So whenever he's going to answer, he's supposed to know this statue was erected on the budget of the government of Zimbabwe. So it was government money.
Was it in the 2022 budget? Was it in the 2021 budget? Are you very sure that it came from the budget of Zimbabwe? It came from the taxpayers' money? Because remember, there's a political party that is ruling in Zimbabwe, which is also sponsored by different organizations in Zimbabwe, that if you talk of 100,000 is nothing to them, because they can afford the 100,000.
Now, it all comes to transparency. That's why we were saying there should be transparency in the fiscal activities that are happening in Zimbabwe.
Very good. So in your assumption, you think the money came from the taxpayers. But let's say if the money came from a donor. For recently, like we can say that we say in Zimbabwe, somebody can afford to give a ruling party in Zimbabwe 500,000 US, just as like, okay, guys, you can have this, because they are now millionaires in Zimbabwe.
It was all over. This was a government party. So we cannot.
Was it government initiated, or it was politically initiated by the ruling party in Zimbabwe? Because if you don't know how to differentiate between the government and the ruling party, and then it will derail from the debate that
there's no difference.
The government funded.
In our country, there is no separation between the government, the RBZ, or any other parastatal. It's just one entity. What the government, what the politicians say will just go. You should understand this. There's no separation in our political structures. Can you hear me?
There's someone who's there's someone who's on the road. I'm about to mute everyone, and then you can unmute yourself. Okay, I've muted everyone, and then when it's a chance to talk, you can unmute yourself, because there's somebody who's on the road and is making noise. Yeah, guys, is the moderator or is the chairman of this debate? Please take note, don't take anything personal. I just have got questions that I'll be asking you in assumptions. Let's assume that maybe somebody paid for the statue. And then if it goes back to the facts that the government did, or the political party did, or the council did, and then we get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Since the question was directed to me first, so let me answer you using the assumptions, just like you are questioning using the assumptions. Okay. First of all, just like what was being mentioned by, I'm not sure it's Nash or I don't know, he was mentioning that it's difficult in Zimbabwe to differentiate ZANU-PF government and ZANU-PF on its own, because, for instance, we had the president himself saying, we are ZANU-PF, who are the leaders, we are the government, we do this, we choose what to do, we choose what to do. So at the end of the day, even to answer whether Mtuli is incompetent or is someone who listened to ZANU-PF. It's difficult to tell. It's not clear. There's no transparency. So on that one, I would say it's government. Government ZANU-PF is one thing. So be it was the money from ZANU-PF government or the money from government, Reserve Bank, blah blah. They are the same. It's one thing. It's one people, one person. Again, if you put it like to city council, remember, it's easy to answer that one because city council doesn't belong to ZANU-PF. Then that one we can question why city council did that. However, it's government which did that. I'm done. Seems like our chairman.
No, I'm here.
I also want to say.
No, I'm here. I'm here, Dr. Oh, hold on. I'm here, Dr. Lewis.